Section 2.4 of your textbook covers the topic of percents. The word percent actually comes from Latin words per centum, meaning by 100. And so a percent sign actually means that a number has been divided by 100, or that the number has been multiplied by 1/100th. To convert from percent notation to decimal notation, we can simply move the decimal point 2 places to the left, since that's equivalent to dividing the number by 100. 68% then, written as a decimal, is 0.68. To convert to fraction notation, we can simply rewrite with a denominator of 100, 68/100ths, and then simplify the fraction. Note that the numerator and denominator of this fraction are both divisible by 4. So we can say that 68% is equivalent to the fraction 17/25. Let's look at 2 more examples. Let's convert 110% to decimal notation. Once again, we shift the decimal 2 places to the left to obtain the number 1.1. To convert to fraction notation, we can rewrite as 1 1/10, and then convert that mixed number to the improper fraction 11/10. Finally, the third example, 7.9%. Notice that to convert to a decimal number, as we move that decimal point, we'll need to add a placeholder 0. So our answer is 0.079. And this is equivalent to the fraction 79 thousandths. It's also important to be able to convert from decimal or fraction notation into percent notation. Let's look at some examples. The first one, 0.4. Since we're converting from a decimal to a percent, we can reverse our earlier process. Just move the decimal point 2 places over to the left. Notice that we will add a placeholder 0 and the percent sign. 0.4 is equivalent to 40%. Problem 2, 2.35. Again, we move the decimal over 2 places, and we see that's equivalent to 235%. What about converting fractions to percents? Well, one option is to rewrite the fraction as an equivalent fraction having a denominator of 100. So for example, since 4 times 25 equals 100, we can take the fraction 1/4 and multiply both the numerator and denominator by 25 to obtain the fraction 25/100ths. This is then equivalent to 25%. However, if the denominator is not a factor of 100, then this conversion is not so easy. So it's often easiest to convert the fraction into a decimal first and then convert the decimal to a percent. For example, with the fraction 5/8, we can rewrite that in decimal notation by dividing 5 by 8. Since 5/8 is equivalent to the decimal 0.625, we can move the decimal point 2 places to the right and obtain the percent 62.5%. Finally, let's look at some examples of translating word problems to percent equations. Key ideas to keep in mind when doing the translation is that the word is equivalent to an equal sign. The word of is equivalent to multiplication. And percents in the word problem should be translated to decimals. Let's do 3 examples. Problem 1 says, what is 12% of 65? What is our unknown? We can let that be a variable, n. Is translates to equals. 12% we convert to a decimal by moving the decimal point over 2 places to the left. Of indicates multiplication, and then we have 65. So the question, what is 12% of 65, translates to the equation n equals 0.12 times 65. Then we can answer the question by simply multiplying to obtain the number 7.8. Let's look at the second problem. 3 is 48% of what number? In this case, we see that is again translates to the equal sign. 48% would be 0.48. Of indicates multiplication. And what number would be our unknown, our variable? So we have 3 equals 0.48 times n. In this case, to find n, we need to solve the equation by dividing both sides by 0.48. And if we do that, we obtain the answer 6.25. Let's look at question number 3. What percent of 90 is 27? In this case, the unknown is actually the percent. So we'll use p to represent the percent. Of is multiplication, is an equal sign. So we have p times 90 equals 27. To solve for p, we'll divide by 90 on both sides. We obtain p equals 0.3. However, we were asked to find a percent, so we need to convert that decimal number, 0.3, into a percent by moving the decimal point 2 places to the right. So the answer is 30%.